Excel has a wide variety of built-in statistics functions. One of them may give the slope and the y-intercept of a line, standard deviation of a data sample, mean, median, mode, different types of regression analysis, analysis of variance. There are many that we are going to see. We should mention at the very outset that even though Excel can do many statistical operations, which we will soon see, but it is not a very sophisticated package. We should not assume that it gives us the best answers. And if you really need to perform some very serious analysis, you probably would not want to use Excel. But for most of us on a pretty much simple level for typical business applications, it will probably be adequate for the use. In order to use the Excel statistical features, Excel provides what's called add-ins. One of them is called the Analysis Tool Pack, and they are available when you install Excel. And we will go through the process of seeing where it is or to install it if necessary. The add-ins for Excel can be downloaded quite easily, and it is free. To load or unload an Excel add-in program, we first click on the Microsoft Office button, and then we click on Excel Options, and we click on Add-ins. Now we have a number of choices. We're going to look for the add-ins, and we're going to choose the Analysis Tool Pack. We will now choose Go, and if your Analysis Tool Pack does not have a check mark as such, then you put one in. As you can see, I have one in there, and I have another one. You do not need to check the Solver add-in at this point. Just the Analysis Tool Pack is sufficient for our needs, and we will click on OK. Now we don't see any obvious difference on our screen, but we will see that we have installed it correctly. How do we know we correctly installed it? Well, we go up to where it says Data, and on the right hand side you'll see the word Data Analysis. If you do not install it correctly, you would not see that. If you click on Data Analysis, you will now have a screen which indicates the many available tools that we can use. Some of these you may recognize by their names, but the simple ones that we're going to look at for the most part, one is Descriptive Statistics, another one will be Histogram, we have Regression. These are the very popular ones. And then the other ones represent other very useful functions which we can look at later in the homework assignments. For example, analysis of variance, correlation, the F-test, sampling. And you can explore the others on your own, but at least at this point we know how to get into data analysis. We have all heard the term, pick a random number, pick a number at random. What exactly does this really mean? If you pick a number from 1 to 10, you're probably going to pick your favorite number. Is it 7? And everybody has a favorite number, and we may think these are random numbers, but really they are not random, because a random number has a property that it can be chosen truly at random, meaning it's not necessarily a favorite. Meaning if I had 100 numbers, every number would have the same chance of being chosen. So there's no subjective feeling in there. And sometimes we do have to pick random numbers. We have to pick maybe 5 numbers from a list, and we want to make sure we pick them objectively. Well, Excel does provide an objective way to choose any number in a range. And to do that, all we have to do is type a function which will represent a random number formula. And we type in equals rand between parentheses. What we're doing is we're asking Excel to pick a random number between a lower value and an upper value. So for example, let's say it's between 1 and 10. We type in 1, 10, and all we do then is press enter, and we have a random number. And that's all there is to it. Now you may think, well, what happens if I do this again? Am I going to get another random number, the same random number? Well, if I go in that cell one more time and press enter, it seems like it's going to be exactly the same. But let us see if we would retype this, what would exactly happen. So here I've typed it again, and I will now press enter, and now it gives me the number 9. Now when you do it, you will probably get totally different numbers. That is the idea behind random numbers. Now we can apply this to other examples, but the main thing is we realize this is a pretty objective way of doing it. I can refresh my number, so to speak, by pressing function key F9, and watch what happens to my numbers as I do that. So we see now that we have the number 7, and if we would refresh the screen again, it would probably change to a different number. The key is we really can't predict what it will change to, and it's a matter of Excel deciding which random number will be placed in there. As an aside, if I just put in the function equals rand, and I put it in parentheses and press enter, this gives me a value between 0 and 1. So to observe that again, just repeat it, rand, parentheses, and we shall see that we'll get a different number, and every time we do it, we will get a different number. And if you are requesting just between 0 and 1, this is one way of doing it. And we can manipulate the numbers in a way whereby if we'd like to change it, once we get the number to be between 0 and 100, you can take that number and multiply it by 100 to give you a value. So once we get the number, which is random, there are many things we could do with it in order to use it as data in any example which we wish to deal with. Creating random numbers is used very often in simulations in business. But for a fun little example, which you may try on your own, you can simulate the toss of a die just by putting in equals rand between 1 and 6, and you can do this for 2 die, and you can do this many times just to simulate what would be possible rolls of a die, and you can actually build up a game of this type and practice that. You can do the same thing with blackjack 21. In any event, there are many examples that you can experiment with and